Ladies and gentlemen, many thanks for the opportunity to be here and to represent the Secretary General of the OSCE, Lamberto Zanier, and for great hospitality we are all enjoying here. At this conference 2 years ago, the OSCE Secretary General Lamberto Zanier pointed to the irreplaceable role of the OSCE in the European security architecture. He highlighted the organization's commitment to comprehensive security in addressing contemporary security challenges, and he referred to the 2010 Astana vision of a free, democratic, common and indivisible Euro-Atlantic and Eurasian security community rooted in agreed principles, shared commitments and common goals. He called the signing of the Helsinki Final Act, whose 40th anniversary we will commemorate a few months from now, a historic triumph of cooperation over conflict. He also noted the growing recognition of shared security concerns, emphasizing that in today's globalized world, security should no longer be a zero-sum game because states cannot confront transnational threats like terrorism, drug trafficking, and cybersecurity challenges alone. Secretary General Zanier also stressed that the OSCE stands ready to play a significant role in reinvigorating the conventional arms control process through an inclusive debate, though he admitted that the impasse in conventional arms control has contributed to a growing lack of confidence and trust among OSCE participating states. Today, we are already facing a situation in which the reduction in transparency and predictability has not only decreased trust, but also challenged conventional military stability in Europe. This shows that military stability, transparency, and predictability cannot be taken for granted. Without strong political engagement and commitment to the vision of a shared security space based on common rules and principles, there is always a risk that the European security architecture, of which conventional arms control and CSBM's regimes are key elements, could deteriorate, and that is reconsolidation could become a Tantalus task, eternally just out of the reach. This year, the Moscow conference takes place against the backdrop of the worst crisis of European security since the end of the Cold War. The crisis in and around Ukraine dominates security considerations in Europe, but its impact is far greater. Indeed, it has called into question the fundamental principles of our security system. Mistrust and divisions, confrontational policies, and zero-sum logic are undermining the cooperative security approach that is the heart of the OSCE. This is a defining moment for Euro-Atlantic and Eurasian security, and also for the future of the OSCE. Yet, the current crisis has also highlighted the enduring utility of the OSCE as the organization best suited to bridging growing divides and facilitating cooperative solutions. The OSCE's response to the crisis has reconfirmed the organization's importance to European security. Unfortunately, the vision of the Astana summit remains more elusive than ever. Our shared ambition to rebuild trust and confidence through a substantive discussion within Helsinki +40 process has stalled. I expect we all agree that finding common ground on the way forward towards the reconsolidation of Euro-Atlantic and Eurasian security will only be possible if we can manage to achieve a durable settlement of the conflict in eastern Ukraine and jointly address its broader implications for security in the OSCE area. This is where the OSCE can make a difference. The organization is already playing an invaluable role in helping to de-escalate the conflict and facilitate political process to achieve its peaceful and sustainable solution. The OSCE, and in particular our special monitoring mission to Ukraine, is doing its part to facilitate the ceasefire process and withdrawal of heavy weapons, as well as other efforts aimed at restoring peace and stability and paving the way for reconstruction and reconsolidation. Its speedy deployment and its capacity to quickly equip and adapt to changing needs, particularly when the mission was entrusted with a key role in the implementation of the Minsk agreements, was a huge achievement for the OSCE and the whole international community. Let me also highlight the important role of the observer mission at the Russian checkpoints Gukovo and Donetsk, which provides objective information and contributes to reducing tensions on the ground. Nevertheless, the potential of the OSCE to further stabilize the situation on the ground has yet to be fully realized. The most important task now is to reverse escalation and establish a stable ceasefire accompanied by a dynamic and sustainable political process. Our experience over the past 2 decades in the OSCE area shows that while it is important to freeze the fighting, it is equally important to avoid freezing the conflict settlement process. As stressed by the foreign ministers of the Normandy meeting a few days ago, the trilateral contact group should intensify its efforts so that the working groups on the implementation of relevant aspects of the Minsk agreements can be launched without delay. Ladies and gentlemen, the crisis in and around Ukraine has made clear that the European security situation has shifted from a mainly cooperative environment with confrontational elements to a confrontational environment with residual elements of cooperative culture. Growing divisions, competition, and lack of trust in the OSCE space do not help create an environment conducive to moving our security dialogue forward, including in relation to the arms control and other pressing issues on our agenda. Nonetheless, the OSCE inclusiveness and impartiality can be a valuable tool in defusing the crisis and moving away from a logic of moves and counter-moves which fuel escalation towards engagement and shared responsibility. The OSCE of today is not a different organization from the OSCE of a year or 2 ago. Our tools and principles have not changed, but what has changed is the willingness of our participating states to make greater use of them, despite, or perhaps because of, the current gridlock on key security issues. The OSCE is now recognized as a key regional platform for dialogue and joint action. However, much more needs to be done to revitalize the OSCE as a platform for cooperative security and to restart joint efforts to create a security community based on the implementation of shared commitments and principles. This is also true for efforts to revive work on conventional arms control and reverse the disturbing decline in military predictability and transparency. The OSCE region today is no less in need of modern arms control and CSBM arrangement than it was in previous decades when the central objective was conflict prevention and early warning. Precisely because we once again face an indiscriminate use of force, threats of force, accompanied by military build-ups and sharp increase in military spendings, we urgently need to engage in discussions on rebuilding and verifiable arms control regime and renewing reciprocal strategic restraint from Atlantic to Urals. We are all aware that the ongoing weakening of the European security system mainly stems from divergent security perceptions and mutually exclusive security narratives. Any meaningful efforts to address the fundamental differences therefore require addressing the principles and norms of arms control in a constructive way. Conventional arms control and CSBMs offer instruments that significantly strengthen security in both good and bad weather. Arms control should therefore be viewed as an integral part of conflict prevention and crisis mechanism. The crisis in and around Ukraine has demonstrated the continued relevance of the CSBMs, in particular the Vienna document 2011, though it has also revealed that some traditional approaches to conventional arms control are no longer suitable. Even though current divisions offer few prospects for progress on arms control in the foreseeable future, it would still be useful to re-engage in a political dialogue on military matters and possible future elements of arms control, including adapting CSBMs and other military transparency and stabilization measures to the current security environment. The crisis in and around Ukraine has reconfirmed the value of the OSCE's concept of comprehensive security. It has clearly shown that there can be no lasting security and stability in Europe without full respect for and strict implementation of all OSCE commitments across the 3 dimensions of security. The deterioration of security in Ukraine and other parts of the OSCE region needs to be reversed, and the spirit of Helsinki must be revived. Looking ahead, The key task for the OSCE is to continue working towards a peaceful resolution of the crisis in and around Ukraine by supporting the full implementation of the Minsk agreements and using all available means to facilitate a political solution. There are also many other important issues on our agenda. Let me highlight the need to intensify our joint efforts to address the impact of the situation in eastern Ukraine on so-called protracted conflicts in the OSCE area. The growing instability in the OSCE neighborhood and rise of violent extremism and radicalization that lead to terrorism, as well as other threats that affect us all, such as organized crime, illicit trafficking in drugs and human beings, illegal migration, and the nexus between security and the climate change, to name the few, require our commitment to work jointly to ensure that our response is effective and timely. As we prepare for the commemoration of the 40th anniversary of the Helsinki Final Act this year, it is more urgent than ever that we strive to find ways to rebuild trust and confidence and to re-engage in joint efforts to strengthen security across the whole OSCE region, including by tackling the difficult yet critically important discussion on the future of European security and the future of conventional arms control and CSBM's regimes. Particularly in this time of crisis, participating states should try to look beyond their differences and seek solutions to the current impasse together, while upholding their common values and principles enshrined in the Helsinki Final Act and other landmark OSCE documents. Although these norms have been violated, they have not been invalidated. They should not be reconsidered or attacked. Instead, they need to be reaffirmed, strengthened, and made more resilient and difficult to undermine. We would do well to recall that 40 years ago, leaders of states with profound ideological differences dared to sit together at the same table, leaving zero-sum games aside and engaged in dialogue to prevent a new war. And 25 years ago, when many Eastern European countries had freshly liberated themselves from the grip of totalitarian regimes, the Charter of Paris declared that the era of confrontation and division had ended. Its signatories agreed to realize the work toward the vision of a new Europe grounded in a steadfast commitment to democracy based on human rights and fundamental freedoms, prosperity through economic liberty and social justice, and equal security for all our countries. Today, the rules that helped to maintain stability in Europe for decades are being challenged. We must demonstrate the same leadership and encourage as the founding fathers of the OSCE and focus on de-escalation of tensions and reviving the spirit of cooperation. We urgently need to reaffirm the legitimacy of the fundamental principles that are now at stake, strengthen our commitment to protect them, and reinvigorate the vision of Euro-Atlantic and Eurasian security based on shared commitments, honored and implemented by all. Thank you very much.